The Uncharted Territories is a podcast about seeing the unseen in the world of matter. Join me, Shara Prophet, the mind magic coach, and my partner, astrologer Scott Tejerian, as we take an esoteric look this season into the life, death, and afterlife of a variety of celebrities and public figures who lost their lives prematurely or unexpectedly.
What is up, Shara?
Hey, Scott.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, me too. This is going to be interesting.
Yes. Well, we've already done John F. Kennedy, and we've done Robert Kennedy, and this episode is about John F. Kennedy Jr., who is one of the most unique individuals in terms of he is the only child to be born to a president-elect. So he was literally famous from the time he was born. And we, when I say we, society, the world, the United States of America specifically, witnessed his growth into a man.
Yeah.
And I really can't think of another individual that has had this level of fame from this amount of time, except for if you want to talk about like Prince Charles or Prince William, Prince Harry, like, and that's why John F. Kennedy Jr. is like the unofficial American prince.
Pretty much. He was born into it.
He was born into it.
Yeah. Like his parents didn't have him first and then became president, first lady. He was born into it.
Into it, yes. And the images of him, there's the image that everyone that lived during that time or even after that time, like you and I, you know the image of him under the desk as a child in the Oval Office with his dad at work as president, and little John F. Kennedy Jr. is beneath the desk playing. And then there's the other iconic image of him saluting.
Yeah.
On his third birthday, November 25th, 1963, he was born November 25th, 1960, and on his third birthday, he was saluting his father's casket as it rolled down the street. So I definitely recommend this book. It's called The Life of John F. Kennedy Jr., America's Reluctant Prince by Stephen M. Gillen, who is a historian and was a casual friend of John F. Kennedy. They were racquetball partners, and he was one of his teacher assistant professors at Brown. So they'd been friends since he was at Brown. But it goes really in depth to his life, and according to the book, he did not like being asked about those photos, them constantly being brought up.
Yeah.
He didn't like being called John, which was the nickname that was given to him as a child. He didn't like people calling him that. When people would say that, he would say, one John is suffice. So he was, just in my own personal recollections growing up, I mean, an Adonis. You look at this guy and he was like, just like, could have been a model. You know, just like one of the best looking people you've ever seen. And just had this way about him, this charisma, this charm, this easiness to him, where you just always see him in the tabloid magazines. It was like this iconic figure for being born into his namesake.
American royalty.
So, and then of course the tragic death that occurred with his wife, Carolyn Bessette, and her sister, Lauren, when he was the pilot. I'm not even sure if we should bring this up, but were you able to actually get a hold of him? Because according to the QAnon posts, his death was faked, and he's coming back to claim his throne as president. After Donald Trump.
He's definitely on the other side.
Okay.
He's on the other side.
Okay.
There was no reason for him to fake his death.
Right. No, it seems so absurd to think that, but okay. So how did you call him in? Walk me through this experience.
Well, now I'm using my pendulum. So whenever I'm calling in any of the spirits that I'm working with, I call them in and ask them to please announce their presence by showing me the yes motion on my pendulum. Everybody's yes motion is different for their own pendulums. So once that starts moving, that's when I know that the energy is present in the room. But it was a little different with Junior. I'm going to refer to him as Junior because I want to call him John, but I'm not going to call him that. So I just call him Junior. Instead of him coming into my room, I stepped into a room where he was. So that was interesting. It was a little different this time. Yeah, he definitely came in ready to talk.
What was this room that he was in?
It was a high-rise apartment building, and the apartment had like these cream-colored marble floors, and there was like black leather couches in the room. Really nice. I mean,
I'm curious to know if that was his mother's apartment. I'm not sure. She had a really famous residence, I guess, that, he basically grew up there. They moved there when he was about 4 years old. Okay. And I think she had that place until she died.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
I'm not sure. It looked like it was a big city. Like it could have been New York City. It could have been Chicago. It could have been... Yeah.
He's a New Yorker.
Yeah. So that's what it looked like to me, but I'm not sure if it was her. I don't get the feeling it was her place.
Okay.
So that's how we came in. First, he came in very cool, very nice, very calm. And then the scene flashed to this room, this place where he, had a suit on, but his shirt was unbuttoned and kind of open as if, you just came home from work and you're kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
And immediately I saw him having a conversation. He was having a drink, scotch, 2 ice cubes. Because I asked, is this whiskey? Is it scotch? It was scotch, 2 ice cubes. There were sheer white curtains kind of blowing in this room. And then there was a scene of him having a conversation with someone. And the person he was talking to was a black man. He had on like some dark jeans, a gray cardigan sweater, and some like black suede shoes, really well dressed. There were 2 other men present, but they were kind of in another room. But the 2 of them, Junior and this guy, were talking. But he was visibly upset. Like really, really upset. This is the opening scene. Like this is my introduction to him. Yeah. So,
and when you say visibly upset, like what are you witnessing?
I'm seeing this guy talking to him, trying to present him some papers and a pen to sign something. He's kind of pushing the guy's hand away. He's saying, no, I'm not signing this. I'm not doing that. And he's getting more and more riled up. The guy who he's talking to is very calm. And I could see the guy kind of looking up at the other 2 men like, he's not going to sign or whatever. It was just like this tense moment.
Who are the other 2 men?
I don't know who they are. Okay. I don't know who any of these men are.
Are they black? Are they white?
They were 2 white guys, one older gentleman with gray hair. The other guy was probably mid-40s to 50. And they were just kind of standing in the other room. And he was on the couch sitting next to this guy. And then he finally gets up. The guy tries to hand him the papers again. He hits the papers out of the man's hand. These papers go flying up in the air, and I'm trying to see what's on the paper, but I can't get it yet. So I'm definitely gonna have to go back and do a little bit more, because every time I tried to ask what this contract thing was about, it's just for some reason it's not coming all the way through. So
is this something that's happening on the other side, or is this like a memory?
No, this is a memory.
A memory.
This is a memory.
Okay.
This is a memory, something that he wants me to see. But I need to tap back into that because I'm not quite sure what this contract is about.
Okay.
But then he takes this glass that he's drinking the scotch out of. The guys are trying to like not restrain him, but like trying to calm him down. Like, well, wait, don't leave. Let's talk a little bit more. He pushes one of the white guys, the guy with the gray hair, he pushes him off. And then he throws the glass and it hits the wall and everybody just backs off and then he leaves. And I'm just like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, he's throwing a temper tantrum, I mean,
yeah.
In reading that book, what I picked up on was, his father was murdered just before his 3rd birthday, publicly murdered. You go through a trauma like that, and that's where you become emotionally stunted, in a sense.
Yeah. You get stuck in a developmental stage.
Yes.
So that's the toddler tantrum stage. You know, and I mean, it makes sense. His theme of life is frustration.
Frustration.
And he said, I was very angry.
Yes. Well, of course.
Yeah.
His father was publicly murdered. His uncle was publicly murdered. How do you reconcile that feeling? And those images are broadcast across the television at that time. Now they're on the internet. I mean, how do you live with that constantly being out there and people constantly referring to it, talking about it, wanting to ask you about it?
Yeah.
How can you ever heal?
Yeah.
How can you ever heal if that's constantly being brought into your awareness?
And he was trying to. He was definitely trying to. I didn't get the feeling that he was ever trying to cover up anything. I think he was just trying to
Move
deal
on.
with stuff, you know?
Okay.
And so this is why he was always active, which is good because it's a great way to channel. He said, this is the way I channeled my anger, just being super active and doing crazy things, you know?
So the active part really, you know, we did the podcast about Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
And Bruce Lee was born on November 27th, 1940. John F. Kennedy Jr. was born November 25th, 1960. So they were born 10 years, 2 days apart, both Sagittarius sons. Bruce Lee's nickname as a kid was Never Sit Still.
Yeah.
And that was how people referred to Junior.
Yeah.
Was that he can't sit still. He's always got to be active. When you look at his astrological code, and in addition to the Sagittarius sun, it's a mutable sign, it's a fire sign.
Yeah.
Mutable, they're the stimulator signs, but they're also scattered with so much going on at once. He was a mutable sun, a mutable ascendant, Virgo. This is why around people he didn't know or in situations where he might be uncomfortable, he was a little more reserved and soft-spoken. But to people who knew him, he had that more fiery side. When you look at the childhood, though, Chiron, the wound, he was born with Chiron at the exact same degree in the exact same sign as his moon. So the moon is the childhood, your roots, a wound to his childhood. Both of those are directly opposite his Uranus, which is the planet of the unexpected.
Yeah.
So an unexpected wound in the childhood.
Yeah. A big one.
Yeah, big one. Major.
Two big ones.
Two big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, second one happened when he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So he had
It's
had
like
enough,
all over again.
all over again.
Yeah.
And Bobby Kennedy had become like a surrogate father to him.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And he lost him. So what does he say about his childhood?
Well, he says, I asked him, you know, was your childhood happy? He said, yeah, it was happy before his father passed. It was very happy. Parents were very doting. There was no abuse. None of that. None of that came up. In fact, because Jackie O and Kennedy Sr., experienced the loss of 2 children. So they were very, very like helicopterish over the ones that they had over Caroline and over Junior. So they took excellent care of these children. You know, they always had them around, always doing things with them and for them. So they were very cared for and cared after, very loved in the household. But he said that there was always this underlining sadness with his parents because of the loss of those children.
Yes.
Because they both were born and died on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of them, the one who is younger than Junior, I think he might have lived a couple days.
A couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, they died like within a day or two of them being born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had made it to term.
Yes, which is very traumatic.
Yes.
Very traumatic.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was always this underlining kind of sadness there. And I think that really did fuel some of the issues that they had in the marriage between the two of them, is the loss of these children.
Totally.
You know, coming to full term, being birthed, and then dying. You
How do
know,
you recover?
that's a lot.
Yes,
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
And trying to run a country and you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot. That's a lot. When do you have time to heal? When do you have time to step back and go to counseling? Like, when do you find time to do these things? You just kind of move it out of the way and keep going. But they were very loved, him and his sister, very, very loved, Junior and Caroline. But there was this need for the parents to keep them close because of the fear of the loss. And then also what they both experienced in their own childhoods, just making sure that their kids were safe.
Totally.
Whether they experienced it firsthand or witnessed it, they witnessed some forms of abuse, you know, in their own homes. So they were definitely super protective over their children.
Yeah, well, it talks about how, you know, JFK Sr., you know, was just a doting dad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he
Big
loved
time.
playing with his kids. He loved the photo ops with you know, the kids playing and him doing his work and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, he loved playing with them.
These are children that were wanted. These are children, all four of them, you know, the ones that didn't make it all the way through life. But these are children that were wanted and very much loved. So that was good. Always happy to hear that, you know, somebody's having a happy childhood.
And it mentions in the book how Junior would talk about Patrick as his little brother.
Yeah.
You know, even though he lived like 3 days or something.
Yeah.
But that's how significant that loss was to the family.
Yeah. I mean, this is a family that has experienced a lot of loss.
Oh my God.
So if anybody out there knows them, I would highly recommend that they work on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Work on that, clearing the bloodline, doing some ancestral healing around loss.
Absolutely.
Because that's a lot.
It's incredible.
And tragic losses.
Tragic.
You know, like that's big time. So.
Yes.
And he said he always felt secure as a child. They never wanted for anything, obviously. But after Dad died, he said that he felt like he had to hold on to everything for fear of loss. So there was a lot of kind of like not walking on eggshells, but like waiting for the next shoe to drop type of energy going on with him.
Yeah.
Again, no abuse and parents very, very protective. And as a teenager, he said the anger started coming out more as a teenager. I mean, for various reasons. First of all, teenagers are kind of crazy, you know, when they hit that age. The hormones are flaring and flying all over the place, you know, on top of this rage that he was already feeling of losing his father and a baby brother and an uncle who was like a father and having it kind of pushed in your face over and over and over again.
Pushed in your face. What do you...
like you said, the pictures, the videos.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I mean...
Well, and also, he had Secret Service following him around until he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And that was a big point of contention, according to the book. You know, Jackie was always trying to make sure that the Secret Service were out of view, that they weren't around, so that he could pretend to have a normal childhood. When he was living in New York, he used to like to try to lose the Secret Service, go a different way on his bike or something like that. Yeah. Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that there's also some fear, too, of his life being in danger.
For sure. Well, that's why when Senior was assassinated, that's when like Congress passed a law that said that families will be protected and children will be protected, and children until they're 16 years old.
Yeah.
But for someone like Junior, who's a Sagittarius,
he needs his freedom.
That's freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom loving. It's like, you know, like, get off me. Like, I need to just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes.
It's deep, man. So yeah, he said that, you know, he was a hothead. He would, you know, sometimes get into altercations with people. And I mean, especially if, you know, somebody's jealous and saying something.
Well, they talked about,
you know,
in the book, a story when he was a kid where he used the Secret Service. I guess he had antagonized some older boys that chased after him and his friends and were going to beat him up. And he had like this buzzer that he could
oh gosh.
So the Secret Service showed up and
oh my goodness,
scared the bullies off or something.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him being like this just firecracker kind of,
Yeah, he's a risk taker.
Yeah.
That's, this is Sagittarius. It's mutable fire.
Yeah.
It's very optimistic. It's pulling back on that arrow, that bow to let the arrow fly. I think a Sagittarius is the sign that's like, let's just burn everything down.
Yeah.
Let's burn it all to the ground and we'll
see what happens.
Build something better. Yeah, exactly. Something better will come of the ashes.
I know that line.
Yes. That's right.
I identify with that energy.
Yes, I know you do.
So he was very fiery in his teenage years. And he said that he dealt with some self-hate as well and sorrow and confusion. But all of this, he said, but I was wise enough to understand where the frustration was coming from. So he wasn't blind to the fact of where this was coming from, why he was angry. He knew, he knew why he was angry, but it still didn't negate the fact that these feelings are here.
Yeah,
like this wound is here,
That is because he was born with Pluto in the 12th house.
Okay, what does that mean?
The god of death. In the house of the unconscious. People that are born with Pluto in the 12th house, they have a crisis of identity throughout their life where they have to go through like a reincarnation of how they view themselves, how they feel like they fit in. So I could see how there would be some self-hatred or some sort of transformation that needs to go on within his unconscious. Because of what happened, obviously, but astrologically speaking, because that's where Pluto was when he was born. Yes.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So he said that he intellectualized a lot of his emotions and his feelings.
Okay, that is because he was born with the moon in Aquarius. So that's the logical, having the moon in the most logical sign.
Yeah.
It's all about, rather than feeling the emotions, it's about thinking about the emotions.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is what helped him to cope and compartmentalize things for himself so that he could just keep going. Okay, I know why I'm feeling this. I know what's going on. I have to do this to move through, type of a thing.
It's the most detached placement for the moon.
Yeah.
So that is why he was able to cope and just move forward, and even though he's feeling this pain. Yeah. Because the moon is in Aquarius, so he's able to detach from the emotions, but the moon is right next to Chiron, so there's a deep wound in his emotions as well.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the moon was in the 6th house, which is associated with the 6th sign, which is Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet that rules the conscious mind. So again, intellectualizing the emotions, being very critical in the emotions, analytical of the emotions.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And he said that he intellectualized those emotions and he transmuted them into activities, sports, movement. So this is, even though he was intellectualizing it, there's kind of a healthy thing about channeling the energy into something, because he was pushing it out of his body through these activities, through the sports and things like that. He may not have been dealing with them on an deep emotional level, but he was pushing it out of his body, which is good, very good. So it doesn't stay stagnant in there and turn into something else,
Yes.
So that part I give him some kudos for because a lot of the people that we've been discussing didn't do anything with it. It just kind of just sat there and turned into other elements.
No, he had to keep moving.
He had to.
That's it.
He had to keep moving.
The sun, not only in Sagittarius, but also in the 3rd house, which is associated with the 3rd sign, which is Gemini. That's another mutable sign. So when I think of Gemini, I think of like follow the bouncing ball. Yeah. Like, oh, there's a flash over here, over there. Oh, what's that? Oh, wait, what about over here? So just always constantly being stimulated.
Yeah.
Being stimulated.
Yeah. Yeah. It helped him. But would have helped even more would have been doing some serious emotional clearing, you know, like confronting it, sitting with it and feeling it for real and letting it go. But he did the best that he could do.
Absolutely.
He knew he needed to get it out of him. So that's why, people were like, he's always doing crazy things and taking risks. That's why.
that's what he knew to do in order to help himself. Yes.
He said it also helped him move into clarity as well.
How so?
So it helped him clear his mind of things. So whenever there was that confusion and that frustration coming, him channeling his anger through activity helped to bring some clarity and focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Him channeling the activity.
Channeling the anger
through the activity helped bring him mental clarity.
Yes. So whenever he felt unfocused, frustrated, whenever that anger was building up, when that rage was kind of rearing its head, he would go and do something to like clear his mind.
Right.
That was his process.
I see.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm looking at his Mercury because I'm thinking of the mind, and I see that it's connected to Venus. So that's the senses and the conscious mind. So something to activate the senses helps clear the mind. I also wanted to mention that he was born, in addition to having Chiron next to the moon, that's one part of his childhood, but the other part is the fourth house is where Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, the planet of abundance, and Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, they're both in the fourth house, which is the house of home, which represents his roots. So even though he had this great traumatic tragedy or these tragedies in his childhood, these unexpected tragedies, he was also incredibly fortunate and lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very complex.
Very much so. Because there's also this thing of him understanding how lucky he was and how blessed he was and privileged or whatever you want to say. So I think that there was also this kind of, not guilt, but just an understanding of kind of like, okay, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I have a reason to be, but I also have so much to be grateful for, to be thankful for. You know, I don't want to dwell on this. I don't want to let this rule my life type of a thing.
Yes.
Which is pretty commendable to understand. He had an understanding of what was going on with him, which I think is amazing.
An awareness.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Mercury was also in alignment with his ascendant, which is your face, your body, your personality, the essence of your soul. So he had a conscious awareness of the essence of his soul. It also, when I think of the ascendant, that's ruled by Mars. So when you're talking about that action to clear the mind, that is the connection between Mercury and the ascendant. So that's what you were talking about earlier. I wanted to mention Venus is also in alignment with his ascendant. And so when you see that, that's when you see, oh, this person's going to be physically attractive because they have the goddess of love and beauty connecting to the point that represents your face, your body, your personality. He's charming. He's good looking. Yes.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about his life, like coming into adulthood.
Okay.
So he said that he learned how to master his emotions as he began taking positions of authority because he understood he couldn't be out here smacking people and causing, whatever. Being an attorney and being who he was, and who he is. You're coming out of childhood into adulthood. Again, he was very aware, very self-aware.
He was aware of his status in the world.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility that he had to take advantage of this in a positive way. Absolutely.
Yeah. So he said, I learned how to master my emotions as I began taking positions of authority, even though he would still occasionally kind of lose his temper when things weren't going right, or if somebody was saying something, or if he needed to like stand up for himself. Like he was definitely able to do that and show anybody you're not going to take advantage of me or whatever he needed to do as a way to protect himself or just get somebody to back off.
Exactly. Because people are trying to take advantage of him, his celebrity, what he has to offer. There's an A-list celebrity and then there's JFK Jr.
Absolutely.
Like he's way more famous than the most famous person of that time.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
So celebrities were in awe of him.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to be very careful of who he's letting into his circle. What do they want from me? Are they trying to take something off my family name?
Yeah.
Or, what are their intentions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was this deep protection he had over himself. I mean, which makes sense because he grew up very protective.
Mm-hmm.
Like his parents were helicopter parents, so.
Well, they had people working for them.
Yes.
That were the helicopters.
Yeah.
The parents loved them and were doting on them, but there'd be times where like Jackie would go on a trip and be gone for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
But they always had staff.
Oh, yeah.
That was watching after
absolutely.
the kids.
They were very, very protected. Like that was a main thing for them.
Totally.
So having that energy as a kid and seeing, oh, this is what you're supposed to do for yourself and people you love, that was very much his position in life, for himself. Absolutely. He said that he followed his intuition to know when it was the right time to go off. That's what he said. That's how he was able to temper it a little bit and balance it out.
So he knew when to use his anger.
Yes, absolutely. He knew when to let it go off and when to hold it back. He had a bit of a dark side that a lot of people
tell me about that.
Didn't know about. Well, he didn't tell me a lot about it. He just said he had a dark side, which,
Again, Mercury was in Scorpio when he was born. So there is an air of secrecy to him because of this. He is very shrewd, I imagine, psychic in a sense. He knew what other people were thinking. He could suss out their motives.
Yeah.
But yes, I could see the dark side emulated through the Mercury in Scorpio. Also, Neptune was in Scorpio, but that's more of a generational planet. Neptune is connected to Pluto in the 12th house, which is the unconscious. And that also brings like a darker element, like a cloud where it's like harder to see what's going on in the individual. Yeah,
well, the High Priestess came up for him when I pulled cards on it. High Priestess is about the unknown. This is the unconscious mind. What you see is not necessarily everything you're going to get. When you look at the High Priestess card, there's like a curtain behind her. It's this beautiful ornate curtain. She's sitting on a throne, but you can't see what's behind the curtain.
Behind the veil.
Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
So that is an indication that there is some unseen things, some darkness and stuff that because he wouldn't tell me everything.
That's Pluto, Lord of the Underworld. Pluto, the god of death in the 12th house, the house of the unconscious. So there is a darkness, there is a shadow side to his unconscious.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what he did bring to light was, again, that he had a lot of sleepless nights. Again, the rage, insecurity, suppressed emotions, all of this stuff was feeding into that darkness. And he said, I appeared to be balanced on the outside, having it all together, but it was me putting on a good face. I was walking, what he said, I was walking in courage, the valiant path. Okay, because again,
explain that.
So that is the hero's path. And I mean, coming from where he comes from, a line of heroes, his father being the president of the United States, an uncle being senator, and would have maybe been the next president, who knows? There is this expectation to put on a good face, to be the man, have courage, and to walk this walk. But having to live up to that on top of having these underlining things going on, that was feeding into this other darkness that was behind that curtain that I'm still not able to see. So, because that's his choice. He has a right to say, I don't want you to see certain things. And who am I, right? So.
You're Shara Prophet.
I am Shara Prophet.
Exactly.
That's right. But that doesn't mean I have the right to go digging around behind people's curtains, whether they're here or not. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So he has the right
Much
to say, no, I'm not showing you all of that. But there was some stuff going on there. So
well, he's a Virgo rising.
Okay.
And Virgo is the virgin. It's, I think of like Mother Teresa, people that are very demure, They're ready to be of service to others. They want to appear put together.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because as a child and a youth and into like college and even his young adults, like even I think to the point where right before he died, there was something about him that was a little a mess. They talked about, and somewhere I read, I think it was the book, might have been a different book that I read, but his like apartment that he lived, his loft with Carolyn, it was kind of like haphazard, you know, it wasn't like decorated or anything. It was kind of like a bachelor pad.
Okay.
And she was living at it. But as a kid, a friend described him that he looked like an unmade bed because he was always just kind of thrown clothes together. He was always borrowing clothes from other people and then never returning them or losing them. He was famous for losing his keys or his wallet but I didn't know that. And most people didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like when you look at JFK Jr. in the magazines, you're like, this is perfection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the Virgin. The Virgin, Virgo, is perfection. So for those of us who didn't know him, we're seeing the outer shell, which is Virgo, the Virgin, perfection.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like he's presenting to you in some form or fashion.
Yeah, because he said, I appeared to have it all together, but really, no.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on underneath the surface. So that makes sense that if he was kind of forgetful a little bit, that goes into sometimes not having that focus because of so much emotion happening underneath the surface. It's like sometimes I'm all the way here and sometimes I'm not. So he knew that he had to pull it together when it was time to pull it together.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
I know, right? It's interesting to look at these people and be like, wow, I thought you had it all together, all polished and everything, but we're human. We're human beings.
So I always remind people.
I definitely don't have it all together.
Everybody's going through I always remind people, everybody's going through their own personal hell.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Give us a break.
Absolutely. Give people
We're
a
all
break.
doing the best that we can.
We are.
John F. Kennedy Jr. was doing the best that he could.
Yep.
So was his wife, Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. Everyone's doing the best they can. Yeah. We're human beings.
That's what we're here to do.
Yes,
figure it out.
Exactly.
Here to figure it out. And even when you figure one part out, there's going to be 25 other things that you're like, what? This? Why?
Yeah, people are always so surprised when it's like, I thought I healed. It's like, well, that layer, you healed that layer, and now there's a deeper layer to heal.
Yeah, it's always there because we agreed to this dense 3D reality.
Yep.
You know, it's hard down here.
Yes.
It could be awesome.
It's all the above.
It's all
everything.
Of it. Yeah.
It's pain, it's suffering, it's joy, it's bliss, it's sadness,
pleasure,
it's happiness, it's pleasure, it's pain.
It is.
It's all the above.
It is.
It's everything.
It's everything.
Yes.
So just get in there and enjoy it.
Enjoy what you can.
Ask the right questions and you'll figure it out. You will figure it out. So, okay. So I'm going to get into this, and I have to say this before I get into this.
Say it.
This is not etched in stone, right?
Yes.
We're working in the metaphysical world. We're working in with energies. We're pulling things out of the ether, right?
Yes.
So what I'm about to say, I cannot prove this. I can't say that it is absolute truth. This is the communication that I received. So this is for entertainment purposes only, right?
This is your impression that you received. You're not the end all be all.
I am not.
The authority of...
No, I am not.
This is your impression that you got.
Exactly. And this is for entertainment purposes only. This is not us saying this absolutely happened, but this is what I got. So I have to report what I got.
Tell us.
Lordy. Okay. All right. So the sun card came up in his reading.
The sun as in...
S-U-N.
S-U-N.
The sun.
Yep.
Okay. But immediately, it was not about the son, S-U-N. It was a son.
A son.
A child.
A child.
His child.
Junior's junior?
Yes.
Junior had a junior?
This is what my interpretation of this is.
Yes.
Usually the sun, the sun represents, it has a baby in it. There's a baby in the card. But the sun represents new beginnings and, happiness and you stepping into your full whatever, right? But that is not what I got. I got a son. And this came right after the High Priestess card with the secrets and...
So the High Priestess is the veil.
The veil.
You can't see what's behind the veil.
Right.
And then the next card that comes out is like,
what's the sun?
What's behind the veil is a son.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I heard immediately, my son. And I said, wait a minute. Y'all didn't have kids.
Yeah.
You have a child?
Uh-huh.
I asked like 3 or 4 times.
Uh-huh.
He said yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he knew about this.
Oh, he knew about this child. He knew about him.
Or do we get like an age of when did this happen?
Okay. So the mother of this child, her name begins with a P. I'm getting Peggy, but I can't be 100% certain. Okay. Somewhere in like Vermont or Connecticut, this woman lived. And he said that they dated on and off between 89 and 90 till about 93, 94. This was around the time that he met Carolyn.
Yes.
Okay, this happened before her.
Yes. He was dating Daryl Hannah at that time.
Well, he could have been dating a whole bunch of ladies.
Here's
if I was him, I definitely would have been.
Here's the funny thing. In the book, they tell this story about how he was sleeping with another woman. They were in the act. The phone kept ringing. He picked up the phone and put it off the receiver, so that it would stop ringing. Yeah. But didn't realize that he'd answered the phone.
Oh my goodness.
And on the other end was a woman screaming at him because she could hear what he was doing with this other woman.
Oh my goodness.
And apparently both women forgave him because he is
that's
who he
what
is.
you do, right? So what are you going to do?
Like, you can be mad at JFK Jr.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? He's doing what he came here to do. Get as much as he can.
The ladies, he would always have a girlfriend. Yeah. Whether he actually had a girlfriend or not, in the public eye, he would have a girlfriend because if he was ever single, as far as the public knew, it was crazy enough.
He'd get bombarded.
Yeah, it was crazy enough when he had a public girlfriend. Yeah. There were still women throwing themselves at him, but without a public girlfriend, he would have no peace. Yeah. There'd be women camping outside his apartment and stalking him everywhere. They were already stalking him when he had a girlfriend, regardless. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
So this woman was around too. And basically what happened to her was she was pregnant, but he didn't know about it. He knew about it. And they just kind of stopped dating. This baby was born around that time, around 93, 94-ish, around that time. That's what I'm getting that. So Peggy P, she died. I just saw her walking along this stone bridge. Like one of those stone bridges you may see like at a farm or somewhere. If you've ever been to Connecticut or Vermont, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. They just have like countryside, little pretty picturesque bridges or whatever. She's walking along this bridge, like kind of on the edge, just kind of playing and walking, slips and falls and dies. It was an accident, not suicide, nothing nothing, no foul play. This woman just died. So there wasn't anybody in her family to take this boy, this son. So his family took the baby in. Now, I don't know where this child is. The child is still alive. Well, the man, he's a grown man now, is still alive.
Yeah, he'd be about, 30 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still alive.
Yeah.
Not sure where he is. I don't have a name for him, but this is what came through. So I'm just reporting what the information that I got. He could possibly be being taken care of by a family member. I don't know.
He didn't say which family member or who's taking care of.
I'm not going to say all of that.
Okay.
He did, but I'm not going to mention that.
Not going to out them.
I'm not going to mention that because I don't have 100%. I'm just not going to mention anybody else's name other than him.
Okay. I'm with you.
Okay. Yes.
I understand family secrets.
Yeah. We all got them, right?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I've heard some things, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, wait, this person, that? Like, you don't really know what's going on. And
you don't know.
You may not know what's going on in your own family, let alone in
Anybody
someone
else's
else's family.
That's right.
Whatever the secret is.
Yeah, so I did want to, he did give me permission to mention his son. This is more so his son understands that he acknowledges him and he knows that he's here and that's his father. And the
son knows that he's his father and everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
He wants that acknowledged.
Is he using his father's last name or is he using a different name?
I don't think he's using the father's last name. Yeah. I think he's using a different name.
Yeah. I think of like Game of Thrones with like Jon Snow. Like who's the father?
Yeah.
Who's the, and you end up finding out that it's completely something you didn't even know.
Yeah.
You didn't even think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I feel it. When I think about like what we talked about with Bobby and Jack.
Yeah.
And the gin. And I tend to think that JFK Sr. has some other offspring that are floating around out there. Possibly.
Oh, possibly. Oh, yeah. I mean, I would not be surprised at all.
Is it off base to say that, this is how you hide the family line in some way?
What do you mean?
Well, it's like when I think of, like when we were talking about.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's
it's
interesting.
Like if you've made a deal.
Yeah.
And now your offspring have to pay.
Yeah.
The cost of that deal. If you have offspring in secret that are not publicly recognized as your offspring, is that a way to hide the lineage?
I mean, good luck trying to hide it from a spirit who can see everything and knows everything when it happens. It could be if he had access to the knowledge of cloaking or knew somebody who could, maybe. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible. But he also acknowledges this family curse as well.
How so?
I asked him, I said, do you think that your family is cursed? He said, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
There's definitely. But again, like I said, they can lift it if somebody goes in and does the work.
Did you tell him that?
Yeah, I've told him. I've told his dad. I've told his uncle. Like, you guys have to somehow get that message to
the family.
And because somebody living on this side is going to have to go in and do that work for them. If they haven't already. They may have already. They may have already. I don't know if anybody else in that family has passed recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like tragically passed, not just from like
tragically passed
natural
recently.
Causes or anything like that, but
I feel like there was a drug overdose from somebody.
Okay.
I'd have to go and look. Maybe we can hit that up on the second episode.
Yeah. Because we definitely have to dig deeper into because there's some other things that have come up.
So let's I think we should cap it at this right here because we're running close to an hour.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll look and see like if there's been some more recent tragedies. I know that there has been. Yeah. I know that there was a drug overdose from somebody. I have to look and see who. Okay. But we will get back.
Yes, we will.
And get deeper into the Kennedy saga.
Yes, indeed.
And JFK Jr.
JFK Jr.
Yes.
Not
you.
John.
Not
just
John. One John is
just one John is sufficient.
One John is sufficient.
That's
give
all
the
we
guy
need.
A break.
Yes, please give him a break. Yeah. So yes, indeed. So I'm excited to see what else comes up because there's some things, some other stuff that we didn't even touch on yet.
Okay.
That came up that I'm like, what?
Okay.
So I do need a little time to dig into that because it was just. I don't know.
I love it.
I don't know what he's waiting for to reveal.
Get deeper, Shara.
Yeah.
Do it.
We'll see.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you,
yes, indeed.
John F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah. Tongue twister right there.
Sharing what you shared with Shara. And please share more with Shara. So the next episode, we can reveal some secrets.
And thank you, Scott, for breaking it down.
You're
always,
welcome. I love
always
it.
Just breaking it in, breaking it down with the astrology because it is so on point. So
you're welcome.
Thanks for your wisdom and brilliance.
You're welcome.
Yes.
All right, Shara. See you next time.
See you next time.
You've been listening to The Uncharted Territories, where we see the unseen in the world of matter. If you would like to support the podcast, subscribe.
We've talked a lot about the subconscious mind and the importance of healing our wounds from the past. As an energy healer and a certified hypnotherapist, I help people understand how the mind works so they can harness the energy of the subconscious and tap into their inner power and make those positive long-term changes in their lives. If you're ready to make that change, you can book a session with me by connecting at opendoorhypnosis.com. I look forward to working with you.
If you'd like to learn more about who you are, where you come from, why you're here, and what you're meant to do with your life, contact me, Scott Tejerian, at theweeklytransit.com, and we will take a close, detailed look at your astrological code. My purpose is to help you understand who you are so you can accept, appreciate, and love the divine unique miracle that is you.